চলো।
জয় হোক, জয় হোক, জয় হোক, জয় হোক, শান্তির জয় হোক, সাম্যের জয় হোক, সত্যের জয় হোক, জয় হোক, জয় হোক, জয় হোক, জয় হোক, জয় হোক। সর্বকল্যাণ পীড়ন অশান্তি, সর্ব অপৌরুষ মিথ্যা ও ভ্রান্তি, সর্বকল্যাণ পীড়ন অশান্তি, সর্ব অপৌরুষ মিথ্যা ও ভ্রান্তি, হোক ক্ষয় ক্ষয় হোক, জয় হোক, জয় হোক, জয় হোক, জয় হোক, জয় হোক।
যদি পার্শ্বে রাখো মোরে সংকটে সম্পদে, সম্মতি দাও যদি কঠিন ব্রতে, সহায় হতে পাবে তবে তুমি চিনিতে মোরে।
সুখ দুঃখ দৈন গ্লানি বিদেশ অহেতু, দূর হোক অভাব ব্যাধি শোক দুঃখ দৈন গ্লানি বিদেশ অহেতু, মৃত্যু বিজয়ী হোক অমৃত লোভ, ভয়ভীত দুর্বল নির্ভয় হোক, মৃত্যু বিজয়ী হোক অমৃত লোভ, ভয়ভীত দুর্বল নির্ভয় হোক। রবে নাই শৃঙ্খল শৃঙ্খলতার বন্ধন, কারাগার হবে হবে চুরমার। রবে নাই শৃঙ্খল শৃঙ্খলতার বন্ধন, কারাগার হবে হবে চুরমার। পার হবে বাধার গিরি মরু পারাবার, পার হবে বাধার গিরি মরু পারাবার। নির্যাতিত ধরা মধুর সুন্দর প্রেমময় হোক, নির্যাতিত ধরা মধুর সুন্দর প্রেমময় হোক, হোক জয় হোক, শান্তির জয় হোক, সাম্যের জয় হোক, সত্যের জয় হোক, 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 জয় হোক।
আমি চিত্রাঙ্গদা, আমি রাজেন্দ্র নন্দিনী, নহি দেবী নহি সামান্যা রানী, পূজা করি মোরে রাখিবে ঊর্ধ্বে, সে নহি নহি হেলা করি মোরে রাখিবে পিছে, সে নহি নহি। আজ শুধু করি নিবেদন, আমি চিত্রাঙ্গদা, আমি রাজেন্দ্র নন্দী, রাখিবে পিছে সে নহি নহি। আজ শুধু করি নিবেদন, আমি চিত্রাঙ্গদা, আমি রাজেন্দ্র নন্দী রাখি বেপিছে সে
অনেক ধন্যবাদ আমার প্রিয় সহকর্মীদেরকে এরকম একটি চমৎকার উপস্থাপনার জন্য। সত্যের জয় হোক, শান্তির জয় হোক, সাম্যের জয় হোক, সব বাধা পেরিয়ে সকল নারীর জয় হোক, এটাই হয়তো বা আমাদের আজকের অনুষ্ঠানের থিম। তো আর দেরি না করে, উইদাউট ফার্দার অ্যাডিউ, I would like to request the Executive Director of Center for Policy Dialogue to come to the stage with the distinguished guests for today's dialogue. Ma'am, please. Once again, thank you so much for coming to our event, and happy International Women's Day. Thank you.
Excuse me, please. Can your picture, please? Excuse me. One picture, please.
Okay. Good morning, শুভ সকাল। আন্তর্জাতিক নারী দিবসের শুভেচ্ছা জানাচ্ছি আরেকবার Center for Policy Dialogue এর পক্ষ থেকে, and thank you very much for joining us today to celebrate the International Women's Day. So we have, as you can see, we have a very distinguished panel of speakers. But apart from these speakers, those who are seated in front of me, they are also very distinguished. They are all bright and, very well positioned and leaders in their own field, each and every one of you. So because this stage is smaller than that space, so we had to pick a few. But it doesn't mean that, you are not the brighter stars. You all are bright and also, leaders, as I have mentioned, in your own field, in your own capacity. So we have a panel discussion, but I would also like to give the floor to the people who are in front of me, both male and female. So you can see that this is only one occasion in the year where I see that the participation of female guests are higher than male, and also the female speakers. Usually at CPD we organize dialogues every other week, maybe sometimes twice a week. Then we always have a conscious effort to bring in female speakers, and there are many. I don't believe that there aren't. If you look around, there are qualified and competent women experts and entrepreneurs, leaders, but we don't sometimes give that much effort. But having said that, there is also a dearth of more women leaders. We want to see there's a dearth of women leaders in their own field. But this is one occasion where we celebrate, as you know, that International Women's Day is for celebration what we have achieved in economic, social, and political arena. While we celebrate, we also want to highlight some of the challenges where we want to work on moving forward if we want to see and have an equal world. And as you have seen, as you have known, the theme for this year's International Women's Day is Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow, which means that when we talk about the economic development, we not only mean that it is income growth or growth in certain economic sectors, but it is an all-encompassing growth which takes care of the economy, society, and also the environment. Particularly the importance of environment has been very crucial, as we have seen that over the years, the impact of climate change has been so prominent, and it is going to destroy all our achievements if we do not take care of that. And women have been taking leading roles in terms of taking care of the environment to build a sustainable world, sustainable society. And that's why we have to also empower women, give a level playing field so that going forward, they can contribute in their own areas. So that is the main theme, but also you see that the campaign theme is break the bias. Because bias, if you are biased against someone, be men or women, then it creates discrimination. And when there is discrimination in the society, there is inequality in the society. And we do not really want an unequal society, and that society, in the end, is not sustainable again. So in order to have a sustainable, inclusive society, we need to have gender equality. And that should start from today. Over the years, in the context of Bangladesh, we have seen that over the last 5 decades, there have been so much progress in all areas, economy and society and political arena. And women have also progressed a lot. Their participation in the labor force has increased. Their participation in political arena has also increased. However, we are yet to achieve gender equality. And in the World Economic Forum's report 2021, we have seen that for the whole world, I mean, gender equality is a far-fetched goal still today. And they have estimated that the way we are progressing, it will take another 135 years to achieve gender equality. So that is, we don't want to go that far. We want to expedite the process. And in order to expedite that process, we have to work together. It is not only a journey of women, but it is also a journey of men. So that is why we feel together we can work better, we are more stronger, and we are more focused. And we always say that in order to have a gender equality in a society, we need to keep the gender focus at the center of policies, be it legal law or social or economic policy. It has to be at the center point. It has to be mainstreamed. It has to be integrated so that we don't think separately. We don't need a separate, for example, we deal with budget, with separate budget. It should be in such a way that it is inbuilt. Each and every ministry, each and every department will have their own budget, gender budget, which will ensure women's equality to and equal access to resources. So this is, as you know, this is a subject which is close to our heart, so we can go on. But I don't want to take much time, but as you have, as you can see that we have such a distinguished panelist, I would like to introduce them. But before that, let me also just inform you about the structure of the discussion. We will hear from our speakers for 5 minutes, and then we'll open the floor. And I really earnestly request you to comment, or if you have a question, please do so. I know you also are great thinkers and great doers as well. Then we have a special guest and also chair. So first আমি সবাইকে পরিচয় করিয়ে দিচ্ছি যে প্রথমে যে ডিস্টিংগুইশড স্পিকাররা কথা বলবেন আমাদের সাথে আছে মিস রিজওয়ানা রিদিতা, the CEO and co-founder Hydroco Bangladesh Limited. I think she is the youngest speaker here, and she একজন entrepreneur, and she was listed as Forbes 30 under 30. So for her contribution and also for her entrepreneurship. We have Taslima Akhtar Lima, who is the president Bangladesh Garments Shramik Sanghati. She works with the workers, and also she's a photographer, she's a teacher also. We have barrister Rashna Imam. We all know she's the managing partner, Akhtar Imam and Associates. She is another young lawyer, young and prominent lawyer. She works on a lot of right-based issues as well. And we have Dr. Firdausi Kadri, another very distinguished and our pride, emeritus scientist, emeritic and respiratory infectious disease division, International Center for Diarrheal Disease and Research, ICDDRB, Dhaka. And we have Mr. Said Nasim Manzoor, Director, Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and Industry and Managing Director, Apex Footwear. He was also the president of MCCCI for a few years. Thank you, Mr. Nasim, for joining, but he's not the only man here. I didn't want to intimidate you. You do. So thank you very much. Then we have, our expat friends who are working here from abroad, who are representing their countries in Bangladesh. We have Ms. Paula Schneider, Deputy Head of Mission, Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Bangladesh. We have Her Excellency Ms. Winnie Estrup Peterson, Ambassador, Embassy of Denmark in Bangladesh. We have Her Excellency Ms. Alexandra Berg von Linde, Ambassador, Embassy of Sweden in Bangladesh. And thank you all for joining. And we also have our special guest today, Dr. Hussein Zillur Rahman, who is the chairperson, BRAC, former advisor to the caretaker government and founder chairman, PPRC Power and Participation Research Center. He will be joining us shortly. He has another meeting, but he has promised us that he would be coming before the midway of our session. And we have our chair, our own Professor Ronak Jahan, who is a distinguished fellow and also member CPD Board of Trustees, Center for Policy Dialogue. She is a renowned professor of political science. She is, I will read out some of the, a bit more on our speakers when they speak. But so without further ado, I think I can start the proceedings of the session. So first, I would like to invite Professor Ronak Jahan because she is the chair, she will speak at the end, but I would also request her to set the tone of this session so that we can focus our discussion while we do discuss. But let me also then read out about a little bit about Professor Ronak Jahan. She was no, I think they should. No, maybe just. No, I know, I think for the young generation, I think, Professor Jahan is one of the first ones, I think, to receive her PhD from Harvard University in the 70s. She was a senior research scholar and adjunct professor of international affairs at the School of International and Public Affairs at Columbia University. She was a professor of political science at Dhaka University, and also she headed women's program at the UN Asia Pacific Development Center, Kuala Lumpur, and International Labor Office in Geneva. She was a research fellow at Harvard, Chicago, and Boston universities in the USA, and Christian Mickelson Institute in Norway. She was the Rajini Kothari Chair of Democracy at the Center for Study of Developing Society in Delhi. So over to you, Professor Jahan. Just take it, it will.
Okay, okay, thank you very much. Yesterday I requested Fahmida whether I will divide my 8 to 10 minutes by 2 segments. I would want to speak first. And title of the campaign theme is Breaking the Bias. And generally, as you know, in Bangladesh, the chair is always given the slot to speak last. So, which I think, if the chair at the last moment asks questions, then it's not fair to the panelists, because then they don't have any space to answer. So I thought that I will break that bias, and I will first raise some questions and issues that I have for the panelists, and they are free to answer or not answer whatever questions I raise. And then, of course, I will have to make some compromises, and I will speak last, but I'll try not to raise further questions with the panelists. But before I raise, I have 2 questions, but before I raise 2 questions, I don't know how much of the cultural program the ambassadors were able to follow. The 2 points I want to make. First, that I have lived in New York and also in other Western countries for many years, but I have never seen International Women's Day celebrated in the same way that it is celebrated in a very grand style in recent years in Bangladesh. Yesterday, I wrote an email to all my feminist friends in the States saying that all of our, at least I take 3 newspapers, Pratham Alo, Daily Star, and Dhaka Tribune, and I said, all the newspapers, this is the front page news, and not only the front page lead story, even in the inside pages, there are many such stories. So how about New York Times or Washington Post? So my friend said, sorry, nobody took notice that this is the Women's Day. And I think that this is very important, that many of the diplomats who are here, they must have noticed that we celebrate days. And I think, and March is, of course, full of various days of celebrations. But I think this celebration is very important, because that's the way certain kinds of values that you are reminded every year that what it is all about. And that is how certain knowledge would be passed from one generation to another. And so even our language day, we have been celebrating since 1952, for instance. So I think that particularly, I think for many people these days, they are not reading books, they are only reading Facebooks. But I think at least because of the celebrations, that particular day, the newspapers devote. And I think that plays a very important role. The second point I want to make is the songs and the poem that was recited. These were written by our own poet, I think, which was also more than or almost 100-year-old at the same time when the Women's Day the idea was introduced in the conference in Copenhagen prior to the Second Socialist International by Carla Jenkins. But these songs, the theme of the songs is to celebrate or say victory to truth, to peace, and also equality. So these things were written almost 100 years old by our own poets. And then the poem that was recited was a very famous dance drama that has been also performed here, again for almost 100 years, which is a character from the Mahabharata, where the woman says that don't put me on a pedestal and don't trample on me, just keep me on your side, I'm an equal partner. So the point I'm trying to make, that this whole idea of equality has been with us for almost 100 years. And it has been, all these beautiful things about women's equality has been also written by Rabindranath Tagore, who actually was a Nobel laureate poet who got the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1913. So that these are very much part of our tradition, and it is not something that often in women's conferences or even conferences, so sometimes it is said that these are all Western ideas, but these are actually not Western ideas, that these ideas of equality of various classes, equality of between men and women, have been with us for for more than a century. Let me now raise my two questions. I think in the panel we have individual women who have, in their own right, have achieved remarkable success. And they are on top of their career. And they have achieved this in a very unequal world, and often they are in professions which generally are dominated by men. So, and women, I'm sure that they have struggled themselves. They faced many obstacles, and they have also overcome these obstacles. And you can take the questions in any way you like. You have only 5 minutes. So you can either talk about your own, what major obstacle you faced and what strategies you had, or you can say what particular state policy might have helped you, and what other biases or obstacles you see which still exist. Because I find that the global trends of progress is very similar, whether you are in the north or south, and the global constraints and where there are persistent inequalities, these are also very similar, whether you are in the north or south. And so I think that is my first question, and for Nasim Munzoor, what I will say, even though he is a man, but I know that Nasim is on record saying that he has been inspired by his mother. And though his father is also a pretty, I think, astounding person, his father is also a pioneer. And I think Nasim's other family members, including his spouse, have also done remarkable things. So I would say that he must have observed also what women around him, what obstacles they face, special obstacles that he has not faced, and how they have coped. And what he finds, because he runs a big business, and he has been the head of a metropolitan chambers. So what biases still exist that he notices. My second question is that what policies you yourself have initiated in your organization or in your life that you think might have contributed towards gender equality, and what you are proud of? And for Taslima, I think who, if you want, you can talk about just your own life, but also you are the trade unionist organizer for the garment workers. And what really, I think their life conditions and their dreams are very different from our dreams, those of us who are sitting here. And so what has changed? I mean, the whole, I think one of the things that have sparked also International Women's Day, we know, I mean, that's what the legend has it, the garment workers in New York City who were struggling in the turn of the beginning of the 20th century for 8-hour work. And so what has changed really for the garment workers? Because I think many of us have seen many changes in our lives in the last 50 years. And what has changed and what obstacles they face, if you want to talk about them. But I know that even as a trade union organizer, you face, even in the trade union movement also, I think this issue of gender equality starts. Just to give one example, and I will close here. Then when I was heading the women's program at the ILO, and SEVA, which is one of the women trade unions in India who were organizing women, not in organized sectors, but in self-employed women, that other male trade union leaders didn't want SEVA to be recognized as a trade union. They said, no, they are an NGO, but we don't want to, we don't want them to be listed as a trade union. And the SEVA leader, Ella Bhatt, said, no, I want an equal representation as a trade union, because that is another movement. So I will stop here, and I'm sorry, I probably exhausted my 10 minutes, so I will not speak anymore at the end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ranagappa. I think you have really nicely set out what we should focus, and you have made my job much easier. I don't have to just say anything. I'll just call upon the speakers one by one. Earlier I alerted them with some ideas that what can they, which issues they can dwell upon. But your pointed questions will help them to organize and make their presentation very focused. So let me call upon Ms. Ridhita Rizwana, as I have mentioned, who is the co-founder and also CEO of Hydroco Plus Bangladesh Limited. Over to you. So I would request to limit your speech within 5 minutes so that we can come back later on after we hear from the audience. Okay.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome. I'm very glad to be here. We are in great spirits, and and I'm grateful for everyone's presence here. So my name is Rizwana Ridhita. I'm the co-founder and COO of Hydroco Plus. My quest for meaningful work has led me to leave the safe harbor of Bay Street in the financial district of Toronto, Canada, and led me to a humble street and a nice manhole in the street of Dhaka City. So to join the efforts in combating some of the pressing world issues today, I strongly believed in a young man's vision. The founder of Hydroco Plus, Zahin Razin, and we embarked on a journey to solve some of the water issues in Bangladesh. I'm sure everyone in this room will agree that each individual has a right to realize their true potential and live in a secure and equitable world. And clean drinking water is a significant resource to sustain life. When exploring signs of life, one of the primary things we look for is water, whether it is in this planet or beyond. And ensuring everyone has access to clean, safe drinking water is non-negotiable. This is where innovation and technology can play a vital role in ensuring safety and water efficiency. In this era, through innovation, political will, and proper action, nature can find a great ally in technology to help restore balance and get ahead of the game. And this is where HydroCo Plus comes in. At HydroCo Plus, we bring together